In the name of God, praise be to God, and prayers and peace be upon the messenger of God. The names given by the Indian Army and the Pakistani Army to the military operations they carried out in the recent tension between the two countries aroused the attention of observers because they have connotations. It is clear that there is something traditional about them. Indian forces initiated a military operation on May 7th, launching air and missile strikes on 9 sites in Pakistan and Kashmir. These operations killed about 30 Pakistanis and wounded 50 others. India called this operation Operation Sindoor. We will return to this name again after a while. The Pakistani army did not give the Indian side any time. Within 2 hours, 5 Indian aircraft were hit, and not only that, but a full military operation was carried out. On May 10th means about 3 days after the Indian operation. It struck several Indian cities, and the operation was called Operation Albunian Almarsous, a response to the Indian Operation Sindoor. This is the most dangerous escalation between the two countries since 2019. In 2019, there was also a war between the two countries which did not develop into a major war, but it was a war. And from then on things calmed down somewhat, but the second was significantly active and was in an exchange of fire on the border, in more than one location. What do you want me to work for the Indian Army? The operation was named after the box. This is one of the cosmetics. Indian women used it. It is placed at the intersection of the head and placed on the forehead. It is red in color as a symbol. Why is this Sandor religious importance? When completing the marriage ceremony, the husband places this Sandor on the head of his wife. This is an indication of the start of the ceremony and even the ceremony itself, and it takes a name from the sand, taken from this sand. Then after that, the wife in her public life, after she got married, every day she puts this powder on the part of the head or on the entire head or on the foreheads periodically. This red crimson color of Sindoor is very, very famous among married women in India. This indicates dedication to serving the husband. I wish my husband longevity. This Sindoor exists as a text in ancient texts that are ancient Indian and are said in religious rituals frequently. Why do they have a presence in heritage up to 5,000 years? It is more ready. I mean, some studies say, no, this is 8,000 years in Indian civilization. The word box, this exists, and the traces in drawings, statues, etc. exist, the subject of. The red color that is on this head and the word box specifically existing in this one. The history has a very religious significance to the Indians. For this reason, the trade of Sindoor cosmetic powder is exempt from taxes. The state does not levy taxes on it because of its religious value. People also use it on famous Hindu religious occasions like Kurwa Chauth. This is not a festival that they do in secondary schools like this festival. It is also an entire festival based on the theme of this box. Why did the Indian Army choose this sand? Because it is called the operation, because it is, as the symbol says, religious. In loyalty to wives as a result of the death of their husbands in the terrorist attack that happened to tourists in Kashmir, in which 26 of the 26 died, most of them men, and spread strongly on the media the picture of the wife's woman sleeping next to the body of her husband, the dead man who died of the 26 who died. She is sleeping next to her on the ground. The picture created a great interaction in Indian circles. That is why they called the operation Sindoor, an indication of the religious orientation of the Indian government and the Indian army in its war with Pakistan. Pakistan responded with a solid construction process, and for us as Muslims it was clear the meaning for us was inspired by the noble verse,
Bardo gave a religious response to the Indian cause or to the Indian war, to the Indian name which they called Sandul. They responded with the solid structure, which is also the religious dimension that exists among the Pakistanis, as the religious dimension is clear in the conflict between India and Pakistan. This talk is not new. This talk has been from the hour of India's separation from Pakistan in the year 47, and the two races are originally separated on a religious basis, not on an ethnic basis, no geographical basis, no historical basis. On a religious basis, the Muslims in the Bangladesh region, the Pakistan region, and the Indians in the India region, which is the Hindus, meaning the Sikhs in the India region, separated on this basis. And the problem in Kashmir was in clarifying the borders in the Kashmir region, and this is what accelerated the speed. But the separation, basically it was on the issue of religion. Even secular governments that come on the way, whether in India or Pakistan, cannot leave by land this issue. Salvation is the religious dimension that is ingrained among the people, among scholars, in the media and in drama, everything in the two countries, India and Pakistan. It is based on this vision even with secular governments. So on a positive side, it achieves an identity for the people and achieves a protector for the people. And why is he enthusiastic about bringing together the various people's forces with their various orientations in this war? These are some benefits achieved, but on the other hand, the conflict remains bitter. Because the conflict of doctrine has no concessions, no bargaining, and no kind of conflict. The distance from the target, because this is a doctrine for him, he cannot leave anything behind. From doctrine, and thus war is supplemented to the last extent of wars. A time in the past was based on this topic. Through the history of time, Muslims' wars with their adversaries have always revolved around Islam. Starting from the Prophet's era, may God bless him and grant him peace, the battles were between disbelievers and Muslims. Between Muslims and Jews, and between Muslims and Christians in Tabuk and in Mutata before it. I mean, there are wars, and after that, throughout the Rashida Caliphate and the Umayyad and Abbasid states, our entire history, wars were from a religious standpoint, between religion and another religion, the conflict. No matter how far the armies or kings are from religion, religion remains the main title of the Crusades. When Pope Gregory II led Europe to the musical war, it was a purely religious starting point, clearly the Crusades wars for. To please God, from their point of view, we also have responses in the Islamic world. It was from this standpoint they came back to the story of Imad al-Din Zengi, Nur al-Din Mahmud, Salah al-Din al-Ayyubi, Najm al-Din Ayyub, anyone who fought Al, and after that the Mamluks and al-Zahir Baybars and his tribe Qutuz, means the Islamic or religious orientation. It is very clear to people that these wars disappeared from the world after the French Revolution. The French Revolution supported secularism in the world. People moved away from religion and wars are no longer common. The religious. It remained largely present in the world, disappeared for several decades and ready for 2 centuries. Political wars, economic, social and geographical wars remained, and they were wars of interests. In general, coming back again in recent times, the Crusades or the wars of the Crusades appear. Religious, the Crusades appeared in Bush's speech when he was fighting Afghanistan. And he called this war a crusade. We saw it after that, of course, in the various governments among the Jews, even though they were secular for an hour. Ben Gurion was the first prime minister in the Zionist state, and they are always secular ministries, but he always plays on the issue of religion, and he always calls his military operations religious names, and we have previously presented episodes on the channel about the subject of an arrow, and about the passage of David, or other episodes that always focus on the religious dimension in order to bring together the diverse orientations among people converge into a single crucible with an aim to affirm the identity he upholds. The topic, and we also saw it, this is a lot in the words of the Republican Party that rules America, especially in the words of Trump and the words of his representative Vance. They talk a lot from this religious dimension. The truth is that the origin in Islam, our brothers and sisters, is that war is controlled by religion. I mean, war is supposed to be for the sake of God. Its goal is for the sake of God, and its rules are based on the approach of God Almighty, the Holy Quran and the Sunnah persecution. Our principle is that war does not deviate from this. The point is that I do not fight objects and my own whims. In the life of this world, no. My war to please the Lord of the worlds, glory be to him, because this religious spirit present in the war between India and Pakistan, which we saw in the word son, is the role of what they said. The Indians and the word of the solid structure that the Pakistanis said warns that this war will not stop, ever, we are talking about. There are periods of rest and intervals. Or shooting as America mediated and the scourge of war between the two parties, but how many weeks, how many months, how many years will the war return again? Because the starting point of the war is clear to me, and the definitions or comments they said or the names they gave to military operations are very clear in this matter, especially since the Indian neighbor for the Pakistani is not any neighbor. This is a polytheist neighbor, which means that the people of the book do not hesitate.